On a quiet Thursday evening in Charlotte, North Carolina, a young woman boarded a light rail train, likely thinking about nothing more than her journey home. She had dreams, ambitions, and the resilience of someone who had already survived unimaginable challenges. But within minutes, her life was taken in a senseless act of violence that shocked not just a city, but people across the world. This is the story of Irina Zarotska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee whose journey to safety ended in tragedy. Irina Zarotska was born and raised in Ukraine. Like so many young people, she dreamed of building a better future for herself. But the war in Ukraine disrupted everything. Seeking safety, she fled her homeland and eventually made her way to the United States, a place she hoped would give her the opportunity to live, learn, and rebuild her life. Friends describe Irina as hardworking, kind, and determined. She found a job at a local pizzeria in Charlotte and was also taking English classes, improving her skills so she could better navigate life in her new country. She represented the hope and resilience of countless refugees who dream of stability after conflict. But while she was adjusting to life in North Carolina, fate had something devastating in store. It was August 22, 2025. Around 9:55 p.m. Irina boarded the Lynx Blue Line light rail in Charlotte. She took a seat on the train, unaware that just a few rows behind her sat a man who would soon commit a horrific act. That man was DeCarlos Dejuan Brown Jr., 34 years old. Unknown to Irina, Brown had a troubling history, both with the law and with mental health struggles. According to security footage later reviewed by investigators, Brown sat quietly for several minutes. Then, without warning, he pulled out a folding knife, stood up, and stabbed Irina multiple times, including at least one fatal wound to her neck. Witnesses were horrified. Panic spread through the train as people scrambled for safety. In just seconds, Irina's life was cut short. She never made it home that night. To understand the aftermath, we need to talk about the suspect. DeCarlos Dejuan Brown Jr. was not unknown to authorities. He had a long criminal history, with prior arrests and convictions. More concerning, he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. The question everyone is asking now is this: how could someone with such a record, and such severe mental health challenges, still be in a position to harm an innocent stranger? This is where the tragedy becomes not only about one violent act, but also about the failures of systems, the justice system, mental health care, and public safety. Brown was arrested shortly after the attack. He now faces charges at both the state and federal levels. At the state level, he has been charged with first-degree murder. At the federal level, prosecutors charged him with committing a violent crime on a mass transportation system, a federal offense that carries the possibility of the death penalty or life imprisonment. This dual prosecution highlights how seriously the authorities are taking this case. But as the legal process unfolds, another debate is intensifying. Was this act driven purely by violence and mental illness, or was there also a racial motive? Reports suggest that Brown made disturbing remarks during or after the attack, but investigators have not confirmed whether hate crime charges will be added. The news of Irina's death spread quickly, first in Charlotte, then across the United States, and soon reaching Ukraine. Her co-workers at the pizzeria set up memorials, remembering her as a bright young woman who worked hard and smiled often. Her family, still in shock, spoke out, expressing grief but also demanding accountability. Community members gathered for vigils, holding candles and sharing prayers. Many were outraged, not only at the brutality of the act but at the broader issues it revealed. How safe is public transportation in Charlotte and in cities across the US? Should there be more security officers on trains? Are we doing enough to address untreated mental illness? And how do we better protect vulnerable communities, including refugees who come here for safety? Even political leaders weighed in. Some demanded stronger punishment for violent offenders, while others highlighted the need for mental health reform. Irina's story is deeply personal, but it also reflects larger problems. Every day, thousands of people ride public transit across the country. Most never expect violence, but incidents like this remind us of the vulnerabilities in these systems. Cameras can record crimes, but they can't always prevent them. Security presence is often limited. Then there's the issue of mental health. Brown's diagnosis of schizophrenia is a critical part of the story. Mental illness does not excuse violent crime, but it raises hard questions. Was he getting the treatment he needed? Was the system equipped to intervene before tragedy struck? And finally, there's the story of refugees. Irina came to America for safety. Instead, she lost her life here, Her death is a painful reminder that safety cannot be taken for granted, and that communities must do more to protect those who are most vulnerable. At the center of all this, it's important not to lose sight of Irena herself. She wasn't just a victim. She was a daughter, a friend, a co-worker. She had dreams of mastering English, of working, of building a life far from the war she fled. Her story should not only be remembered for how it ended, but for who she was and what she represented: resilience, hope, and the pursuit of a better life. As we reflect on this tragedy, we must ask what can be done to prevent the next Irena Zarudska. How do we create safer communities, stronger mental health support systems, and more secure public transit? The answers won't come easily, but the cost of ignoring these questions is far too high. Irena's life was taken in an instant, but her story must continue, not just as a headline, but as a call to action. May her memory inspire us to do better.